Hello, all Sique here, and welcome back to the path to Unpunishable. We're in our second interlude here, and we're going to be discussing Ball Boy, who's going to be showing up in the next set of cards here. And I like to call this Ball Boy at the crossroads because the path to Unpunishable is not a straight road. It never was. It bends, it loops back, and it occasionally deposits you at a place where several paths converge. And there, it demands you that you stop pretending that you can keep moving on momentum alone. The second interlude finds me exactly there. I'm like exactly there on many different fronts. And I'll be covering that in an episode, not only in this episode, but in the episode of Her Ongoing Candor and card 7, the scissors. I'm standing at a crossroads where personal work, creative ambition, and my entire fictional nation meets. And they are locked in. They refuse to be separated. This card also marks the point in the path to Unpunishable where the work becomes harder. The first 6 cards, they were about readiness. It was about noticing patterns, untangling internalized voices, and preparing the mind for what comes next. So what's next? At this stage, preparation gives way to action. And this shift can be dangerous. Well, it is dangerous. Once you start to act differently, people and systems that benefited from your silence or your compliance begin to push back. Emotional, mental, and spiritual protection stop being theoretical concepts or things that you should do and start becoming survival skills that you must develop and work on daily. At the same time, in my Shaman States of America universe, they are celebrating their 50th anniversary as a sovereign nation and government. As many of you know, canonically, Shaman States of America became a government in 1976, even though they had been working together as a group for hundreds of years, since before the nation's start. And I thought this would be a great time for me to do the rebrand of everything, because I'm old enough to remember the bicentennial here in the United States in 1979. 1776 to 1976, I was old enough to remember it then. And it was crazy because all I remember is that the bicentennial was all over the place. And it seemed that everybody had a piece of merch associated with it. It was literally everywhere. And it's no different in Shaman States. Every citizen is part of that moment. All 8 Shaman States and their official Legged Hunt teams are going through a full refresh. New uniforms, new logos, and their own official playbooks built in the Sugar Evil game system. Many of the hunt teams that are featured in Shaman States universe will receive the same treatment. And they're also getting their own dedicated game modules. Long-standing lore is being canonized rather than left across notebooks and half-finished documents and passing references. And I'm creating all of that. But this is part of the path too, where it would be easy to frame the workload as proof that I'm doing too much or I should narrow my focus. Instead, this crossroads clarifies for me what my focus actually is. And that is, I'm leaning fully into game design, and not as a hobby that borrows from my writing, but as a discipline in and of itself. One of my core goals is to be a subject matter expert on adapting fictional worlds into games. And that means learning how to translate setting, tone, ethics, and emotional weight into mechanics that people can actually play. It means creating Shaman States hacks and modules for the game systems I genuinely enjoy, And then it's also me reinforcing what I believe is not only a hot take, but a lesson that I learned the hard way. It's just that you may not be a terrible book author. If you're finding that after years in D&D, your writing career isn't coming off the ground, it may be that you are a tabletop role-playing game designer whose instincts are mechanical, interactive, and player-facing. With that said, I'm building out the core Sugar Evil game system, and it's designed primarily for solo play through 3 players, because that's a hunt team, with the ability to scale easily for larger groups through homebrew. Especially now, in the past few years, I've seen how many solo gamers out there. I see so many out there. I love their adventures, and I see that there's so many different types of games for the solo player. I wish I had access to these in 1986. I really do. And they probably were around, I just didn't know about them because that was before the internet. But now that I do, I'm going all in on world building that respects solitary play as valid, meaningful, and rich. I really want to be known as your solo gaming auntie, really, because the wonderful thing, especially in the last three years, about me being into TTRPGs as much as I have been for as long as I have been, is just the ability to just sit down by myself and play a game and not just make plans for a group game that's never going to happen. It means everything to me, and it makes the difference to me. And part of the commitment I am to being an expert is also creating SRDs, and because I didn't put this in my notes, source reference documents, there it goes, for all Sugar Evil games. These are documents that you can look at, and it's the framework and skeleton of a game that you can put your own I'm sorry, my brain is freezing. An SRD is a document that gives the basic bone rules of a game, and you could apply your own world to it, with adjustments, of course, to make it fit, but turn it into a playable game. And I'm doing that because I want people to build their own games. I want to see more original characters, more original settings, and more original systems. And you're like, well, aren't they making the same game if you release an SRD? No, they are getting the tools to make their own game. And I cannot help if I hoard the tools. I must publish them. And because you'll never know what one thing will bring it all together for you. That was the case with me and Javier Lestano. He put together a solo PBTA game that used playing cards. I just took the playing card aspect of it because I love dealing with playing cards. I adapted it, making the theme about your mental health and your interior life instead of the post-apocalypse. Added monsters and hunters, which wasn't in his game. Added a juice mechanic, which is social proof and influence mechanic. A long rest at the end of the day. And I added the slimes in as the aces, and that became my spoons for Stabby. And then from there, I did a mashup of Stabby using the same system. And then added the Breathless. For the Breathless hack that I did, I used Stabby and then made the consequences and the smaller dice every time you use a skill, and the reduce of your stats every time you use a skill. I put those together and made badges under glass, where you have to recover the badges of fallen hunters and to defeat the monsters that killed them. It's iterative, And it's amazing how I went from I'm never going to be able to figure this out to I know exactly what I want to do. And that part is settled. Alongside the games themselves, I'm creating videos on how I design these systems, the tools and accessories that I want to use to make them, and the decisions that shape the final form. I also talk openly about the risk of making content for yourself, because in the end, I'm making all of this for me. I am the audience for Sique Games. But making it for yourself is a core, as a core motivation. I think that is the very essence of authentic game design. But it's also the thing that can get you in trouble if you forget that not everyone is meant to follow you down every path. But you try to demand it anyway. We've run into that with game designers as well as DMs. It's wonderful if they understand that they are there, that the players are there to play. It's horrible if they want to turn this into a fascist regime. But to add to that, all of this gaming sits inside a larger project. I'm also building a card design company with its own podcast. And this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who knows me, and I love playing cards. All the games that I've designed so far have been playing cards. All the creative projects I've done so far have had cards in them, so that's not a surprise to anyone. But what you might not know is that the cards I've created and the games I've created have not been officially or explicitly for sale. And that was on purpose because I wanted a depth of inventory, a clear style direction, and a clear, I wanted them all to fit together, and I didn't know exactly how they were all going to fit together. And now I do. And Cardaman Sique is all about cards in their forms. Playing cards and playing card games. Combat cards, loot cards, bestiary and rogue gallery cards, monster cards for tabletop role-playing games. Especially if you need some kind of randomness if you're playing solo. And the divination cards that I've designed is primarily to be used alongside certain RPGs that require them, and there are a few that require tarot cards or Kipper cards or Lenormand cards. And they're built for that in opposed to a standalone Oracle products. All right. So 13 minutes talking about all I'm doing. What does it have to do with the slime, Sique? Everything. Because the cup slimes in the first 7 cards of the Path to Unpunishable, like I said before, was about mental preparation. They exist to equip you for the next 7 cards, which demand action under pressure. They teach you how to move forward as much emotional, mental, and spiritual protection as possible. Bowboy himself is the embodiment of that preparation put into practice. Bowboy represents what it looks like to walk this path equipped. Because at his core, he is not, he's not the entire slime. Bowboy is actually that small little round ball in the middle with the face. That he's a squishy good boy. And that's also the vulnerable part. That body around him, that light blue body around him, is his mech. Think power armor, but transparent, cute, and round. It protects him while allowing him to be seen. It does not harden him into anything unrecognizable, and it lets the softness survive in very hostile, harsh environments. Now, as you'll see in card 7, Bowboy is also preparing for the change. As part of the 50th anniversary of the Shaman States of America, he's getting a haircut. That tuft on the top of his head that you usually see, that you have seen in the products I've made before, is going away. I chose to depict this moment in the scissors card because cutting things out of your life is a vital skill. And it's one that we we don't treat it with as much care and as much humor as we could. We rarely do it. This card gives a lighthearted framing to a difficult truth. That some things want to harm you without consequence, and they show no effort or desire to stop. So cutting them away is not cruelty; it is maintenance. Also, another thing that makes this about Ball Boy is the fact that he already exists in my work. He appears in The Spoons of Stabby. He is part of Badgers Under Glass. In both of those games, he is the Ace of Hearts. He's also going to be included in the 104 Slimes project. And he keeps showing up because he solves a problem I care deeply about. How do you represent protection without turning it into punishment? How do you show boundaries that are strong without being opaque or cruel? Through slimes. I love slimes. I love playing cards, and I want to make a playing card game for slimes that can also function as combat monsters in a tabletop RPG. He sits in the middle of all of that, Bowboy does. He is cute, he is resilient, he is adaptable, and he's honest about the fact that survival sometimes requires armor. This interlude exists to say the following clearly. Standing in the crossroads does not mean you're lost. Sometimes it means everything that you've been working towards is finally visible at once and accessible at once. And that's where I am. And Bow Boy stands there with me, protected, transparent, and ready to move forward. I can't wait to get started on card 7. And I want to thank y'all for the support you've given me on the Kickstarter. We are at $615 against a $1,000 goal, and we still have over 3 weeks left. Thank you so much. That means everything to me. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.